something like that. Welcome back, folks, to a very special episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. Sounds like there's a dog that's rather salty there in the background.
Two dumb dogs. Yep.
We are here to talk with two. I'm your host, Ken.
Yes, and I am your other host, Scott.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We're here to talk with two legendary Blackshirts tonight about having a championship mindset. But before we do, we need to run through a quick few announcements. Number one, live viewers, please leave us questions in the chat. We probably use some of those tonight in talking with the gentlemen. Also, Twitter viewers are now able to chat with us live. It's just a little bit different procedure. Just make sure if you're viewing us on a mobile that you hit the video inside the tweet, and that'll take you to the chat window. Also, the same with desktop or PC or your Apple laptop, whatever you're going to use. Just click on the title of the video, and that'll send you into a chat room. And then the next thing we've got going here, where did I put it? It's a banner. It's another banner. I've got another banner. There's the other banner. We will be guests. Scott and I will be guests Tuesday night at 6 p.m. on the Nebraska Football channel at the Voice of College Football with Justin Adams. Not sure what the topics are yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you subscribe at the address below, and you'll be able to join us over there. And third and finally, we will be hosting a charity golf scramble for disaster relief as a result of the tornadoes on 426. Just decided we need to do something besides talk about it. So Inaugural 426 Charity Scramble. It's at Woodland Hills Golf Course in Eagle, Nebraska. It's a 2 p.m. shotgun start. The online registration is available now. So if you want to register to play, the link is down in the description of this video. If you're listening to the podcast on your audio podcast app later, the link is also in the show notes. Same with if you want to sponsor a hole, which we would welcome anybody to sponsor a hole. That registration link is also in the description of this video and the show notes of the podcast. Apparently, the dog wants to sponsor a hole. Just making his opinion known.
We took care of that problem.
Took care of it.
Problem anymore.
Well, you can see them. They're right there on the screen. They really don't need an introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. The voice of Husker football in the mid-'90s, Kent Pavelka, once referred to these gentlemen as the bookends. In fact, he said it quite often. And he also said that their in-huddle motto on 3rd and long was meet you at the quarterback. They are huge contributors to one of the most dominant 5-year periods in college football history, which saw Nebraska compile a 60-3 record, complete 4 undefeated regular seasons, win 4 conference crowns, and bring home 3 national championships. They are all Big 8 and all Big 12 Blackshirts, all Americans, and NFL vets, with one of them playing in 3 Super Bowls and winning 1. It is my distinct honor to introduce to you Grant Wistrom and Jared Tomich. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us tonight on the show. It's been fun getting to know you a little bit over the last few minutes before we went live, but thanks again for taking some time out of your night to talk with us.
Absolutely. Oh, this is fun.
Cool. It's going to be real simple. Folks, you know what to do. You can make some questions. You can send them right here in the chat, whether you're on Twitter, YouTube, or on Facebook, and we will post the best ones. Or Scott will post the ones that make him laugh. One of the two. So
Probably both.
Probably a little bit of both. Little column A, a little bit of column B. But guys, first and foremost, let's start out just, Jared, I know that you were recruited. What was it, a gray shirt? I never understood how all that worked back in the day. What was your recruiting story? How'd you get to Nebraska?
Yeah, mine was a little bit different than most of the kids. I didn't get recruited. I actually had talked to Coach McBride after my senior year, and he had just told me he had watched my film, said that he thought there was something there. Unfortunately, I didn't have the grades in high school, so he said you can come to school here for your first year, what you call a Prop 48, and then you can get your grades up. And after you get your grades up for a year, you can then walk on. So I was a Prop 48 walk on, which is pretty much the lowest of the totem pole of the on the team, or at that point you're not even on the team. So it's a little bit different, of a journey, but it was a great one. And I after my second season, I walked on, and then redshirted, and then after my first year, Coach Osborne gave me a full ride, for the rest of my time there, which was just absolutely incredible for me. So,
awesome. Moonbot Grant says that his dogs just went nuts. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they're inspiring others.
Well, don't worry about Moonbot though. Moonbot's on like every Husker live stream, so I'm sure his dogs go nuts a lot. But how about you, Grant? How did you get to Nebraska in the first place?
Coming out of high school, I had quite a few schools. It was a little bit different journey than Jared had. I had quite a few schools interested in me. I took my 5 official visits to Michigan, Stanford, Nebraska, OU, and Miami. And I was going to probably, after I'd taken, I almost committed on my trip to Michigan, but I told my dad I wouldn't commit. I'd take all the trips I had scheduled. And so, and Michigan was the front runner the whole time. And at one point, Coach Samuel, who was Jared and I's position coach, called my dad up in the recruiting process, and he said, "Hey, Ron, where's Grant at? What do you think?" And he's like, "Well, Tony, I'll be honest with you. I think he's probably going to end up at Michigan." And Coach Samuel said, "Well, I'd love to sit down and talk with you, Ron, and just explain to you." He's like, "I don't think Grant understands how they're really going to use him, and it's probably going to be a little bit different than we're going to do with him here." And my dad said, "Tony, I'd love to, but I'm on the road right now, and I'm not back in Webb City." And he's like, "Well, actually," Tony said, "Well, where are you?" My dad said, "I'm in Houston, Texas." And Tony said, "Well, fate may have it, Ron, that I'm in Houston, Texas tonight too." So they ended up going out, and when my dad came back, he didn't push me or steer me. He's just like, "I think you need to give Nebraska another look." And when I went back up, I had an awesome time. I was with guys that I was going to be playing with, my entire career there. When I went up on my official visit, I was with some older guys that weren't going to be there when I was playing. And that's what was most important to me is whoever I was with, those were going to be my dudes. That's why these are going to be the guys I'm going to battle with. These are going to have to be some guys that I love. And when I went back up there and I saw the guys that I was going to be playing football with, I was like, this is the place for me. So
very cool. Well, Brian from Husker Army says Grant saying Big Blue instead of Big Red doesn't even sound right.
It feels dirty too. I'm not going to lie to you.
I hear you.
And it takes a lot for me to admit it. I mean, it's, I've held that inside for a long time. So, I feel safe in today's culture to say things like that and be vulnerable. So
how about that, Scott? We've got Grant Wistrom in here being all vulnerable. I wonder what Charlie would think about that right about now.
Highly.
Scott, do you have anything burning questions you want to ask them about their time at Nebraska?
As a young buck, I'm not even 30 yet. I turned 30 this July. And the culture at which I've witnessed college football be is just as it's gone on, it's just become more and more. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's soft. It's becoming more and more soft and becoming more and more, dare I say, politically correct. There's tons of things that are being implemented in the current day and age of football where, I mean, you can see the direction the NFL is going with implementing all these rules where basically tackling is illegal. If there's young audience, which I've got to say, I grew up watching VHS after VHS of, 94, 95, 97, tons of stuff like that. So I'm a little bit starstruck here. But when it comes to talking to a generation like myself, the millennials, or even Gen Z, or if we've got any, 12-year-old Gen Alphas in here watching, what is one thing that you can look back at your time at Nebraska and go, not only would that not fly today, it might even make people like lose their cool? Is there something you guys would be willing to admit here on live television in front of 150 people? What would be something that you guys did that would just make my soft generation just blow up?
Well, we were, one of the things I think with us and what Coach Osborne and Coach McBride were such geniuses of doing was, we held each other more accountable than the coaches held us accountable. And what we wanted to do and how we wanted to perform wasn't just for ourselves, but it was for the guy next to us. And we hung out together. We played together. We all went with classes together, and so we had they did a great job of recruiting and unifying that squad, and creating a family atmosphere that I don't see a whole lot of anymore. And the last thing that I ever wanted to do was do something, was make a mistake and let my team down. And so that in that mindset of always, you're always working towards something bigger than yourself was what propelled us, I think, for myself.
I feel like there were definitely, I mean, you knew who the starters were, but the starters were working harder than anybody else and really not trying to draw attention to themselves in any other way than just by going out and performing on the field. And I think that people celebrating themselves more than the team, which I feel is more common these days, that wouldn't have worked out at all for anybody. When somebody made a play out there, it wasn't one guy making a play. It was 11 guys on the field contributing to the play. And that's how we played, and that's how we celebrated after the play too. It wasn't, once again, some guy out there, it's like, yeah, that's me, that's all me. That would have gotten handled real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we celebrated together.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was gonna say, we celebrated together, and I remember, Grant, you probably remember this too. Coach Osborne, this just went through me when he said it. But he said, whether you make a touchdown, you make a sack, you make a great play, get up and act like you meant to do it, and get back to the huddle and go to work again. And that was our mentality, is just work at it, and just keep going.
Well, we've got a question that just came in from George Allers on YouTube. It's kind of part and parcel with what we're talking about right now, but what are your guys' thoughts on NIL/endorsements and the me first mindset of athletes now over the team first mindset you guys had?
Well,
loaded
Grant, question.
Yeah, I think guys should get paid. Now, should they get paid 6 figures, 7 figures? No. I think there's probably a much better way to do it. Unfortunately, I think you've opened Pandora's box now, and it's going to be hard to reel all that back in, although I bet they'll try at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I do sympathize with the student athlete. I remember, luckily, Jared and I had a friend that had a pizza restaurant downtown, and that's what we ate all summer long was pizza, because we didn't have
2 nickels. Yeah.
We had 2 nickels to rub together. So there is a need for it, but at the same time, I don't know how they didn't see this coming by just all right, let's go, and just opening the floodgates. And I don't know how they'll reel it back in, but there's got to be a way to make it more feasible. And because it is, I don't know, it's professional football now, and it's just not the same.
I feel like it's even different than pro football in regards to, when you're on a pro football team, whether it's yourself or who around you has a 2, 3, 4-year contract. You know who you're going to be around for the next few years. You know, these kids are flip-flopping every year, going to different teams. And that I can't even imagine, you know, I mean, Grant, I think back about, you know, when we played, and that, you know, if this stuff flew then, you know, besides the fact that, you know, making the money would have been great, but, you know, that would have, you know, but that's kind of besides the point. The, you know, the whole, you know, entering the portal and, you know, you get your feelings hurt, so you bug out and go to another team. You know, the struggle that we went through is what made us so great together.
Yeah, I have a bigger problem with the portal than I do the NIL money.
Right.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next, because Go Big Redcast, 4 of our favorite guys on the planet, those guys have been so helpful for us as we've gotten our podcast going. So they've asked, how would you guys navigate things like the transfer portal and NIL if it was available to you in the 90s? I know it's a weird question, hard one to answer, but it's interesting to hear your thoughts.
I wouldn't have entered the portal. I mean, I guess it's really easy for me to say that, but I feel to my core, I would not have entered the portal, because I would have chosen that school because I loved who I was playing with. And that's not going to change whether I'm getting I feel like I'm getting a raw deal from a coach, or there's a guy that's a All-American in front of me and I'm not going to see the field a lot. Like I said, I went there to be with my boys. It wasn't about what can this school do for me. It's like, what can I go there and do with a bunch of guys that I really enjoy playing football with? So the portal wouldn't have been a topic of conversation. Plus, my dad would have snatched my head off my shoulders if I'd have said, it's hard here to go somewhere else. Like, that wouldn't have gone over very well in my house.
Yeah.
The NIL, I'm sure I would have loved the paycheck. Like I said, it got old every day. But I don't know. Like, if you give me $1 million back in college, am I really that motivated to show up to workouts for every day? Because I was still trying to earn that paycheck. I was still, I was working for something at that point. If I got 7 figures in the bank account, it's really easy to miss workouts.
Well, and if you look at, you know, Grant and myself, you know, in our careers, we had that opportunity. You know, I had that opportunity as a junior when I hit All-American, and they said, you know, you should, you know, I had guys calling all the time, you should enter the draft as a junior. The next year, when I was a senior, Grant had that same opportunity. He could have gone and been a first-round draft pick, you know, that year. You know, so we had those opportunities to kind of bail or to go and do what was good for us. Like, you know, and from like Grant was just saying, we never batted an eye. We never even thought about it, because, you know, I was going, you know, what the school gave me and put into me, you know, I wouldn't leave the school behind. I wouldn't leave my players and my coaches and everybody behind like that. And Grant was the same situation.
You saying that really reminds me of what we've seen with the current team, and this, especially since Coach Rhule was hired, hardly anybody's left. Portal's open.
Right.
NIL deals are out there left and right for guys, and hardly anybody has walked out the door. To me, that bodes well for developing what we were talking about with the title of this particular episode, is the championship mindset, the brotherhood of staying together and having 11, if not 27, 30 guys on a team that have that mindset that we're not going anywhere. You're going to have to beat us. We're not going to beat ourselves, you know, kind of thing. So what do you guys think? How do I word this? Have they kind of taken college football and, like Scott was saying earlier, kind of niced it up a little bit as far as physicality and things like that, the overprotection of quarterbacks, if you will? I mean, I watched some of this stuff on YouTube of the defenses you guys threw out there. And so the ways you would hit guys, it's like, good Lord, you get arrested for half of those things today. So how do modern teams work around the rules to really, especially modern Nebraska teams, to really get that physicality and be able to bring the boom on Saturdays when it seems like they're doing everything they can to protect these guys?
Jared, hold on. Wasn't that you and Troy Dumas that hit the Wyoming quarterback? Would have about snapped his spine in half?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
I don't know how that guy walked away from that.
And you know, we, we played very hard. I think one of the big things is we wanted to make sure that, the team that we played woke up on Sunday and woke up on Monday and still remembered that they played us, because of the physicality. And I don't think the teams, the teams have got more rules now, but I don't think that should be, binding their hands in regards to just going out and being nasty. But we had coaches like Charlie McBride that taught us, that you're fighting in a phone booth. You go out and you get nasty. This is a violent game. And if you don't enjoy that, then you shouldn't be doing it. I tell kids that all the time when they're, making a decision to even start playing football, or they're in their midst of, high school, whatever. If you don't enjoy that part of it, hey, don't do it, because it's not worth it. I mean, if you enjoy it and you're a knucklehead like us, then get after it.
There you go. And a related question. This is one of, and I'm pretty sure Honky's the one asking this, because he's the one that's kind of goes down this road all the time. Pull the green practice jerseys off the quarterbacks. What do you guys think on that? I think Rob Travis is dead right. You got to get those bruises.
They don't have the people in front of them blocking for them. They would not make it through practice. It would be bad.
Yeah.
And that's and I don't like.
I mean,
I don't like them, but you got to protect them.
Right. I'm kind of with Grant.
Acceptable evil.
Personally, Grant. Public announcement from Grant Wistrom: he hates quarterbacks.
He doesn't like quarterbacks.
Not a fan.
None.
Nope, not a fan at all. But
still,
but yeah, you only have so many of them, so
have an issue.
Practice.
Well, if you guys had, what were you going to say?
Go ahead, Scott.
If you guys had a room full of freshmen in college that the whole point of you sitting in front of them is to give them a reason why they should go against the grain of the culture of today of, I'll wait for him to get back. Hold on.
Oh.
There we go. We lost Jared for a second.
Sorry about that.
Who are listening on the audio podcast. So I'll restart this question. So if you had 1 minute to sit in front of college freshmen who are of this culture of today, and you only had 1 minute to convince them of a reason why to go against the culture today and work hard and put in the work and really, really take everything that you do to such a high degree of professionalism, how would you speak to them? Like, what would you say to them exactly to convince them that just because something was done a certain way 30 years ago doesn't make it obsolete?
Go ahead, Grant, if you feel it.
I don't know how you can convey that in 1 minute, because a person either gets it or they don't.
Yeah,
right.
I think a person either has that where I'm playing for the guy next to me and that guy too, or they're playing for themselves. And I don't think a 1 minute conversation is going to change that. You got to make sure you're recruiting the right guys to be in that room.
And I agree with that. And it's culture, and it's more than just, trying to convince the kids of how they should be playing or what they should be doing. It's culture from the previous guys before them. And Coach Osborne, he had been building culture at that school for decades before we got there. And we were taught that culture by the juniors and seniors, before us. And it was pounded into your brain. And being an out of staters, we didn't grow up in Nebraska. So, we didn't have that pride since the time you're born for the state. But we figured it out once we got there, and we understood how special it was, because you would see that, and you would understand it, and they would teach you that. But it's culture, and it's culture in the programs. And in today's world, I don't know how you teach that over. I think Coach Rhule is, really on the cusp of that. And like you said, the fact that, he had very little portal movement this year speaks just volumes of him and his character and his coaches.
I agree.
There's a guy in the chat. I don't know if he's throwing a little shade. I think he wore number 6 when you guys played?
No, Chester Cheatah.
Do we have this number 6 on the team?
Did you? Yeah, he might have showed up. I don't know, but yeah, KC's throwing some shade at y'all that you couldn't tackle. I don't know. There's some video evidence out there, Kenny, that I could see they could. Oh my goodness! Hey, a couple of fun questions have popped up in here from some of the guys on your favorite coaches, the BA Coaches Show, which is kind of a cool new YouTube channel. Young coach just goes down and breaks down some X's and O's stuff with the Huskers and whatnot. Good stuff. He asked, what is each of your favorite moment in Memorial Stadium as players? Maybe we could talk. Yeah, it's probably, you have a lot of them.
I got mine.
Yeah.
Going into, so it was our junior year, we're playing Colorado, or at the end of the season, and I wasn't sure if I was coming back for my senior year or not. And it was the only time I ever took, I wanted to, because Memorial Stadium is such a special place to me, that during the games I was only focused on the game and beating the guy across from me and making plays with teammates. But it was the only time that I ever took the time to soak in the atmosphere. And it was a night game. The defense played really well. And it was an awesome game. And I just really took the time to acknowledge the crowd and feel the crowd and just appreciate everything about the place, because it's so special. But that's it. Like, it's the only time I've ever done that in my career, college or NFL. And it's still, I still get chills thinking about it. I'm just really thankful I took the time to do that.
Derek?
Yeah, every time you stepped out on the, you were at a home game, it was incredible. The one time that which is kind of different for me and was the most memorable time is when I was a Prop 48. I had just gotten to school there. I had this big long shot, whether or not I could make it even, and I had never been to a college football game. I had never been around that, and I had gotten a ticket to go to the game. And I remember walking out in the upper level and seeing all of those folks and the red and the excitement and everything that came with that, and knowing that right then, like, this is where I need to be. This is my goal. And, I need to be down there. And so that was my most, the one that really sticks out, and I loved every moment, we both loved every moment of every home game. It's just an incredible place to play, like nowhere else.
Insightful answers. Appreciate those very much. Husker Army has another question for both of you. Grant, your thoughts on the pick six against Michigan State? Nick Saban led Michigan State, by the way, in '96. And for Jared, his thoughts on receiving his first black shirt. What was that experience like for you guys?
I thought it was pretty cool because I have as many touchdown receptions as Kenny Cheatah. So,
damn.
There we go. No, that was awesome. Yeah, I got my ass blocked up on the play and just happened to be at the right place at the right time and jumped up and caught the ball. And thankfully, I only had to run about 6 yards to get into the end zone. So there wasn't enough time for me to have the ball in my hand to make a stupid mistake.
It was a quick 6 yards. We'll give you that much. How about you, Jared? What was that moment of getting your first black shirt?
It's pretty incredible because, from the time you get there, that's such a giant goal that is put in front of you as a defender. That's your focus, and even when you get that, for us, that second team, we would wear gold shirts, and, you get that, and then you're just pushing and pushing, to try to get to that point. So yeah, I can remember, when you have that opportunity, and boy, you don't ever want to let it go, and it's not just a matter of, working to get it, but working as hard as you possibly can to make sure that shirt never leaves, your hand.
You too. You go ahead and answer that, Grant. What did you think when you first got it? You were a sophomore, weren't you?
Yeah. And, because like Jared touched on earlier, neither one of us are from Nebraska. And I'll be honest, I had no idea what the black shirts were until I got up there. But when you see how much it meant to the guys like Christian, like Terry Keneally, like Dante Harris, all the guys that were there, Troy Dumas, how much it meant to them. Like, then you understood the just the weight that comes with it and the responsibility that comes with it. Because it's not just you're the starter, it's you epitomize everything that a black shirt's going to be. Are you going to play for your brother next to you? Or is that who you're playing for? Are you playing for yourself? Are you going to go to battle with this guy? If anybody messes with this guy, what are you going to do about it? And it's, showing up to the weight room on time every day, busting your butt, showing up to practice every day, busting your butt. It's just a complete mindset that goes with it. And it's what made our defenses what they were. Nobody was taking plays off because everybody, that's just how we lived every day. It was like you just didn't do anything half-assed. And so when you took the field, you're going to play that same way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Kenny says you're his two guys, so now he's apologizing. Shots fired. Yeah, I love that dude. I absolutely love that dude.
He's good.
Yeah, he's good people, no doubt about it. And it's so much fun to listen to him when he's talking on the Husker Army podcast. Brian is really good about having Kenny help him out and gets a lot of the guys that played kind of in your era, and they all come onto the show, and Brian just stays out of the way, and these guys start spinning stories. And then they'll get some current players on there, and Kenny will just say, hey, look, everybody comes at me because I get real critical. He says, but you have to understand it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of wanting to see that end get back to where that end used to be, because it's our spot. That's where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be competing for national championships every year. We're not supposed to be diddling around talking about the best 3-9 team in history in 2021. So with that in mind, let's kind of transfer the discussion a little bit toward, was there a spot, a moment after you guys were done playing a few years, however long it was, where you said, the standards starting to slip? Maybe we're not going to stay at the top of the heap for very much longer. Did you have a moment where you went, oh boy, here we go? I know where mine is. It was when we decided to fire the Nebraska way and we sent Coach Solich packing, for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big moment. I think for myself, it was when we were going outside of family for filling positions, and and we're watching at a distance because we're in the league at this point, and even getting out of it at that point too. But I think that was the biggest thing that I just saw, that I remember, that was kind of sticking with me.
Yeah, I think it was when they fired Frank, and then you got Callahan here coming in, who I always felt welcome, and I'm sure Jared did too, just because we were in the NFL and we were good to be seen around the program. But I heard a lot of stories about other guys that we played with that maybe didn't make it to the NFL that weren't welcome around there. They just didn't want them around. They didn't want Coach Osborne in the building. And if you're doing things like that, your ego is so big, and it's all about you. And then, I really like Coach Pelini. I really like the hire. I like the way he ran the team for a while. I think at some point, you can only yell at somebody so much before they quit listening to you. And I think that's kind of what started happening there. And they turned from what I understand, and you guys know more than me, but it was like the football team against everybody else, instead of, when we were there, it was like, no, we're all one here. The fans, us, the university, the students, we're all one here. We're all rowing in the same direction. And I just feel ever since then, Riley, I think that was a pretty disappointing hire. And then, when Scott, I don't know if we're going to talk about it later, but I really thought Scott was going to be the guy to fix it, and we all see how that turned out. I really think it just, it's been, predominantly a downward trend since Solich was fired. There's been some jump ups, but I think we've been on the downhill slide for a while. Hopefully got the right guy at the helm now, but it's been a long time.
Well, we certainly have a guy, I think, at the helm that talks a lot and says a lot of the same and shares a lot of the same philosophy that you had, back when you guys were playing the team first. We're playing for the brother to left. We've heard that said from other coaches, but I don't think we saw it demonstrated nearly as clearly as we did this year. Let's be honest. Did you guys expect Tony White to walk in with a 3-3-5 and then boom, churn out a top 11 defense in the country? I didn't. I thought maybe we'd be top 30, but I didn't think we'd be top 11. So these guys know what they're doing, and they've got these guys playing their tails off. And like Husker Army had mentioned in the chat earlier, celebrations now, they don't look like me first. You don't see a whole lot of guys pointing first down when they catch a pass or any of that kind of stuff. It seems to be a lot more team-oriented. So I think we may be shifting and heading in that right direction, culturally, especially. I think culture is, and we all got sick of hearing the word, right? We got sick of hearing Scott say it. We're trying to fix the culture. We're trying to fix the culture. Well, when are you going to get it fixed? When is that going to happen? And just the whole, are we cursed? I've said it many times on this show. I'm like, dear God, who the hell drank Jobu's rum? Right? From one of my favorite movies on the planet. So
great movie.
How do we remove the curse from the field? Bringing Frank back, I thought, hey, awesome. Frank came back, and then we go 5-7. So I'm like, well, it's better than 4-8. So I don't know. Do you have any other questions, Scott? Is there something that's popped up in your mind as they've been talking that you want to ask?
Well, this is going to be like, I really want you guys to be honest, because this is something that as a young fan, like, I need to know this. And I'm not asking this for anybody else but me. This is my question for you guys. Do you think Nebraska is capable of competing in a national championship again as a program? Do they have the foundation for it?
I feel like the facilities, I feel like the coaches there. I think it's all comes down to culture, and you just see, reading. Believe me, I drink the Kool-Aid as much as anybody, but just reading the tea leaves with guys not entering the portal. I mean, I do, and then not only that, you've got guys transferring in there, and I don't know how. We've got mixed emotions about that too, but at the same time, it's becoming. People are talking about it again. It's becoming relevant. And that's not just because we've got the biggest bag, because there's schools out there with more money handing it out to players than we do. I hopefully got my fingers crossed that good things are coming our way. I think Coach Rhule is the type of guy that, he cares about his players. I think the players feel that. And I think, it's heading in the right direction. I'm not saying we're going to win the Big Ten this year, but I do think to say that Nebraska will be in the national championship playoff again at some point, absolutely.
Yeah,
hell
absolutely. Yeah, and I think Coach Rhule will has a ton to do with that. Being the coach that he is. We had an opportunity last year to go with Coach McBride. Charlie McBride lives about an hour or so from us here in Indiana. They're right in Michigan, so we see them, quite a bit. And so we went out to the game. And when Coach Rhule found out that Coach, McBride was coming to the game, it was, please come to every practice, comes out and talks to us, has us involved, stops practice in the middle of practice, stops practice, which you guys, you understand, like, time in practice is just, that's gold. Stops practice, has every player come up, shake our hands, give us a hug, and then they get back at it. And then Coach has us both speak after practice. And that's the stuff that, building culture and building, and building, trust with these young kids and showing them, what used to be, and especially with Coach McBride and being one of the greatest ever. It was awesome, and that's where I was really on board with Coach Rhule after that. He just was so he was so gracious, and I was so I was so excited and being there at that time.
Yeah, I think the thing that strikes me with Coach Rhule is there's a genuine desire to be transparent. He's letting you in. You see every corner of what's going on in this program, other than every play detailed out, right? He's not going to show that stuff, but he's letting full access to behind the scenes, to all the things that are going on, highlighting the community service side of things with the players and the team, and the fact that he wants them to invest in the community. His wife has just opened a business in Nebraska, so he says he's here for the long haul. I worry, though, if they decide in Happy Valley that James Franklin isn't cutting the mustard, that his alma mater is not going to come calling. But I think we've got, as BA coach's show says, I think we have some potential head coaches on this staff. I think you've got a couple of guys in the defensive line coach, especially in the strides that those guys made, and then the linebackers coach and Dvorak, that very well could be the guy that's next in line if Tony White ends up moving on for a head coaching spot. So I like where we're at as a staff. I like the fact that these guys absolutely love working for Rhule. He has an extremely high standard. He holds them to it. And by God, they seem to be getting the job done. I'm kind of a ceiling floor guy. So I'm kind of like 7 and 5 is kind of my floor for 24, but the ceiling very well with the way this schedule sets up and the fact that you have a realistic shot at being undefeated going into the first bye week. This team could be 10-2 and possibly staring at an opportunity to host a playoff game in December. Oh yeah, bring Miami to Lincoln in December. That's what I say.
Somebody took their big dose of Kool-Aid this morning, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, we've been chugging it. We've been
Hammered.
chugging it.
That's right. That's right. I don't drink anymore, but I do enjoy the Rhule-Aid.
Yep.
The Rhule-Aid.
Yeah, that was our last episode, Rhule-Aid versus reality, where we kind of picked the schedule, went game by game for the schedule. We looked at it through a quote-unquote realistic point of view, and then for a Rhule-Aid colored glasses point of view, and it was a lot of fun. Let's see here. Do we have any other questions in the chat, Scott? I don't really see any more.
Just a really good statement from Michelle. Just
yeah,
really highlighting this conversation tone that we've been having, which is that we aren't clinging to the past as much as honoring the legacy and helping those young men understand what they're being looked to in the resurgence. And that kind of leads me to my last question is, do you guys have anything kind of on the docket that you guys have planned with the team upcoming anytime soon? Like meeting with them fall camp? Like, you guys have anything?
Well, Grant's getting ready to move back there, so I figured he'd probably be on the staff before too long.
Yeah,
buddy.
Yeah.
A secret promotion we haven't heard about.
Yeah. You'll see it on the ESPN ticker here in a week or two.
Hell yeah, brother.
Well, yeah, you're moving back to Lincoln. I think some people probably know, but there might be some viewers here tonight that don't know why you're coming back to Lincoln.
Yeah, really excited. Our daughter, Charlie, committed to play soccer there at the University of Nebraska. So she's going to graduate high school in December, and then she's going to enroll up there January. So have that spring semester to get acclimated in their off season there, play some friendlies. And I don't know, just so fired up. And then because she's going to Lincoln, my wife and I decided that we're going to make the trip up there too. So we'll be heading up there in January.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. Yep.
Congratulations.
We're excited.
That is so
Very cool. But like you were telling me before Scott got on, yeah, Redcast Rob says you'll never drink more Rhule-Aid than me, Ken. Sorry for the hard truth. He's right. They did win the Kool-Aid Award from the first annual podcast awards last year. So we won the best video visuals awards. So there you go. So Grant, yeah, Husker Army's asking, you're going to be joining the staff soon too. So
I haven't got any phone calls. I think I'm safe.
Yeah. I just started a whole lot of stuff. So yeah.
My 1 year of coaching high school football, I'm sure that gave me enough credentials to step out there. So
Absolutely.
Oh well. Well, you could be the motivational speaker.
I'm in for that. I'll be the hype man for sure.
That's it. That's pretty awesome, man. So speaking of which, we kind of gotten around all of our topics for tonight. Why don't we kind of give everybody kind of an idea. We talked about it before we went live. Jared, starting with you, what are you up to these days in Indiana? What is it that you and the wife have going on? And
yeah, so we have we live back in Northwest Indiana. We have two boys, 9 and 13, and my 13-year-old is in 13 size shoes, so he's kind of taken after me, and my 9-year-old's in size 9 shoes, so he's taken after me as well in playing sports and doing good. And we have a small hobby farm. I raise we've got about 75 head of cattle, mainly Scottish Highlands and other heritage breeds, and it's just fun stuff that we that keeps me busy and keeps me active and keeps the boys. You can't have enough property when you have two boys, for them to run around on. So we love it. Out of in a little bit of a rural setting here, and then my wife has a great company. We do experience design in the agricultural world. So in regards of building and building things like museums and types of brick and mortar and building and experiences through in that realm. So we go all around the United States doing that, which is never the same thing. It's a lot of fun. No, we're doing great. Loving life.
so you got a kid that's going to roll here pretty soon at the University of Nebraska, so you can move back too, so that the bookends can be reunited in Lincoln.
That would be. We got a little while before that, but you got a few years, so we'll see. He can start playing high school, football in high school if he chooses, and both of the boys. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that would be. We love coming back. It's home number 2.
Well, there you go. Greg's asking if you'd be willing to be a grad assistant there, Grant.
Well, that would require me going back to school, and I don't see it happening right now. If they could somehow make that position where I did not have to attend a class, I would 100% be in.
There you go. Oh, there you. Yeah, Husker Army is now confirming that your staff to join the staff soon too, Jared. As soon as your kid starts playing at the U, so getting the gang back together here, right here on Generation Red. That's pretty awesome.
Well, Jared, if we've got 4th of July, Independence Day coming up here, if you, as a cattle hobbyist, like, what would be your choice of meat to throw on the grill? If you had one slab of meat that you could throw on the grill, what would you pick?
Depends if I'm sharing it or not, and depends on how many people are there.
Let's just assume you're not. Let's be safe and assume that you're not sharing.
Yeah, if I'm not sharing it, then it's ribeyes. It's bone and ribeyes. I have a little catering gig that I do on the side. On different weekends and fun stuff like that. So like this past weekend, I just did about 60 pounds of brisket for some folks, and this upcoming weekend I've got about the same and pulled pork for that too. But love stuff on the smoker. But yeah, if I'm just if we're just here home and it's ribeyes all the time.
I just had a ribeye last night. I didn't get to celebrate Father's Day last weekend just because the weekend was just so crazy. So I postponed it. I had a ribeye last night, non-alcoholic beer. Ended up smoking a stogie out on the sidewalk in front of our apartment complex, and it was a good vibe. I love ribeyes. Ribeyes are undefeated. So
So let's go around the screen then. Grant, your favorite cut of beef then if you're grilling out, and it's just for you, not sharing.
I'm probably going ribeye as well. Yeah.
I think we're going to be 4 for 4 on that. It's always going to be the ribeye, but I'm a griddler. I've got the Blackstone griddle. I don't know if you've ever had. Oh my Lord.
Very good. Oh yeah.
So perfect. So yep. Blackstone.
Yeah, I don't have a grill because I live in an apartment complex with a fire safety policy that I can't have open flame, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if you guys have ever tried this cast iron and you use coffee grounds mixed in with your regular seasoning, and it adds like a charred taste to it, almost like you're cooking on some briquettes.
Yep.
It's really
Yep.
good.
Very good. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Yep.
try that on the
So
block.
glad.
Nope.
I'm so glad somebody knows about it. It's so great. It's one of the most like underrated, super low key culinary secrets. It's great.
Yeah.
So-
It's really good.
So we know about your daughter, Grant. We know she's coming to Lincoln. You're coming to Lincoln with her, and your wife is, I'm assuming, coming along. She's not too scared away by the cold.
No, she was going with or without me, she said. So
Alrighty. So, and I know you were saying earlier that you you have a full-time real estate business. Are you looking at transferring all of that business up here, or opening up an office here, or what's the plan when you get up to Lincoln?
no, actually, we started a roofing company up there too, called Champ Roofing. So I'm going to go up there, work for Champ Roofing. And then I also do some work for Gershman Mortgage up there. I've got 2 offices open, one in Lincoln and one in Omaha.
Cool.
And I'm working on that again, start expanding their business up there. And then hopefully we get a few more thousand signatures for Nebraska medical cannabis and get it on the ballot this year.
Absolutely.
We've got a team to hit the ground running. So, got our fingers crossed this is the year. It's needed.
Yes, it is. I completely agree. I have to admit, 4 or 5 years ago, my mind was pretty closed on the matter, but it's just opened up. I don't know what it is about age. Eventually, an age when you start getting aches and pains, and you're like, a gummy would work pretty good right about now. I can't get one, but that's awesome, man. I'm really, I can't wait for you to get to Lincoln. That'll be awesome. That's going to be
If you listen, you haven't signed the initiative, get out and sign the next week or so. There's not much time left.
Okay. Yeah,
All
I
right.
absolutely will do. Yeah. Yes, I did, Robert. I did mention the golf tournament. That was at the beginning of the show, but you weren't here, Rob. So you're tardy as usual. You're in timeout. He wins me a BA coaches show. I couldn't love Grant anymore. He wins me over again. He's apparently referring to the medicinal side of things.
I was going to ask, I'm sure, we've got over 300 listeners right now. When did you get into cannabis? Like, when was that a thing? I'd heard you on Hail Varsity Radio. It was a couple of years back. And you'd talked about some stuff you were doing in Missouri. Cannot remember it for the life of me, but like, when did you get into cannabis, and like, where are you at now with it? Are you just an activist? Do you have investments? Do you have companies? Like, where? Explain to the audience, like, what about cannabis?
So, I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I used to have to work myself up pretty good for football games. And so to come down after a game, it was a bottle of vodka, washing down a couple of Vicodin just to even back out. So, and so what I started doing kind of toward later, and I didn't have any real experience with marijuana up until the NFL. And so instead of, that post-game routine, I started, if we had a road trip, I'd make some brownies and take some brownies with me post-game, have a brownie post-game, and just even me out a little bit. Or, I'd have my wife would drive home after games and have a joint in the car, and smoke that on the way home. And it just, I could function as a normal human being again. And then I ended up not drinking near as much on those nights. And so I felt better going into the next week too. So it kind of started to become part of my routine and my therapy when I was playing. But then my aunt came down with terminal cancer. And she was struggling with the chemo treatments and things like that. So I started getting her some medicine. My dad's a Vietnam vet, still has horrible nightmares. So, I started talking to him about it and started getting him some medicine and just seeing how it really helped people that I loved. I know what it did for me personally, but I also saw how it was helping people that I loved. And so when it was put on the ballot here in Missouri, it was a kind of a just strange string of events that got me involved in it. But the doors kept opening for me to get involved in this space by either people that were I was getting introduced to, or, or just contacts I was making. It just kept leading me down this path. So we ended up applying for licenses here in Missouri. I've got a dispensary and a manufacturing license. And it's been great. I have yet to have one person come up to me and say, I can't believe what you're doing in our community. any conversation I have is positive. And it's not like, people come up to me and say whatever they want. I'm not going to stop them, and it's the people that you would least expect it from. And I've gotten phone calls from my friends in the middle of the night who their parents are, going through, colon cancer treatments, and he can't sleep, but he's 80 years old. He'll never do this stuff, but I know it would be good for him. So I send him in to our manager, and our manager has incredible bedside manner. He's been in this space for forever, and is able to talk to these people in a way where they feel comfortable enough to go try this medicine. And then they see what it can do for them. And my friends who really aren't into it either, but they see the help it gives their parents. So, people are becoming more aware all the time of the validity of it as a medicine. So, I'm excited to be a part of it. Like I said, hopefully we get it on the ballot this year in Nebraska. And I can't wait to be a part of the space up there as well.
That's incredible. Oh, you muted yourself, Pops.
I did mute myself. My bad.
Silly goose.
Most important question of the night, gentlemen. Are you going to be in town for the Colorado game?
Ooh.
Yep.
Is that going to be because you're doing a 30-year anniversary like we did in 2014 at the Miami game, and you all walked out before the team?
So. I was playing
when
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I know that I'm going to be at the game though, and I had it on my calendar.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, if I've ever heard one. So yeah, cool. Because that for me is the most memorable experience for me at Memorial Stadium was 2014 Miami. Scott had just finished boot camp in Marine Corps, so he's home for his 10-day leave. He wanted to go to the Miami game. A friend of mine hooked us up with tickets. We got in there early, saw you guys come out after the tunnel walk, and I'm already a blubbering mess, because of the national anthem. My son's home from the Marine Corps, and he's sitting next to a full bird colonel, and they're both saluting the flag, and I'm just like, I'm blubbering like a fool. And then the music hits, and you guys walk out, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then that atmosphere, holy smokes, I have never seen a more antagonistic, angry Husker crowd in my life, ever. I don't know if any of the Colorado crowds were like that, but that one was mean, and it was so much fun.
It was a good time. I would love to go to this game. I don't know if it'll happen. It's just kind of out of my wheelhouse for timing and everything. But I would not be surprised if this is a game that breaks the decibel record again. Mm-hmm. Like it's got to. There's no way with the hype coming into this season, with Deion Sanders bringing the kind of bravado that he does to the college football world. Like, it's just going to be bananas. I can't wait.
Yeah,
bravado's a nice way of putting it. That's a very nice way of putting it. It wouldn't have been my word, but bravado is a good way to put it. Yeah, that place is going to be nuts. It's going to be jumping. Hopefully we'll be able to go too. Don't know. Those tickets are a little steep these days, but we're running right up on an hour. Unless you have anything else, Scott, I think we can kind of shut this thing down. Do you want, if you've got guys, if you have any social media info you want to put out there for the folks watching, how they can follow you or whatever, this is the time to do it.
Nope, not really.
Yeah, I'm so used to having other podcasts or other people and stuff in the podcast world in here to do this, so I'm always asking that info. So I always forget that a lot of players don't really want to do that. So my apologies. Scott, I know you're not back on Twitter, are you?
No, screw that place.
Okay. Yeah,
I love you guys. But like, I just can't deal with you. You're too much.
Yeah, I know. I'll
probably be back on. I'll probably activate it right around August.
If you want to follow the show, you can follow us at Gen Pod on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Generation Red on your favorite podcast app to listen to the audio version of this show. genredpod@gmail.com is our email address. Please, if you want to volunteer or you want to make a donation for the silent auction that we'll be having at the Charity Golf Tournament, please email me at genredpod@gmail.com, and we'll make arrangements to get those items and get you on the list to help us out. Grant and Jared, if you happen to be in town on October 12th, it'd be really fun if you could come out and play golf. So,
text me your address. I'll send you a jersey for the auction.
all right, dude. We'll do.
Hell yeah.
We'll do. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that very
Fantastic.
much. And gosh, you had me so flustered now. GenRedPod.com is our is our website. Thank you to Jared and to Grant for coming on the show. He's Scott. I'm Ken. Together we're Generation Red, and we're here to chronicle Nebraska's inevitable return to the top of the college football mountain, one podcast at a time, because there is no place like Nebraska.
And Iowa's corn sucks more than quarterbacks, right, Grant?
That'll work.
All right.
Yeah.
That'll work.
There's worse quarterbacks. You're right. Good call, Scott.
Yes.
Thanks again,
Iowa's corn
guys.
sucks just a little bit more.
This has been a real honor and a real treat for me. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
fellas.
It's been fun.
All right. All righty.
you, guys.
Go Big Red.
Go
Take
Big
care.
Red.
Go Big Red.